In a sharp spotlight on the interplay between national security and individual privacy, newly disclosed documents have unveiled that the Department of Homeland Security entered into a contract with the University of Alabama at Birmingham in 2018 to develop a project dubbed Night Fury. Night Fury was designed to analyze and assign risk scores to social media accounts. In an age where more of us live online, subjecting our conversations, browsing habits, and even private photos to the digital space, the shadow of government surveillance is ominously close. And Night Fury is one of those instruments that undermine civil liberties that the government has been found to use. This form of surveillance treads a perilous line between the ostensible need for national security and the sacrosanct realm of civil rights. The Brennan Center for Justice obtained these documents through a public records request, and Motherboard was the first to report on them. Project Night Fury is aimed at utilizing automation to detect and evaluate social media accounts for connections to terrorism, illegal opioid distribution, but also disinformation campaigns. We only have to look at the Twitter files to see how attempts to combat so-called foreign disinformation have been weaponized against U.S. citizens. The DHS document stated, quote, "The contractor shall develop these attributes to create a methodology for developing a ranking or risk score associated with the identified accounts." Project Night Fury had also planned on incorporating involvement from Customs and Border Protection, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Transportation Security Administration, and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services to provide, quote, "cross-mission operational context," according to one of the documents. Throughout history, governments have grappled with ways to ensure national security. However, the contemporary ubiquity of social media, coupled with advancements in AI-based analytics, has led to the development of strategies that have the potential to undermine civil liberties on a scale that the Stasi could have only dreamt of. The concept of assigning risk scores to social media accounts, as pursued by Project Night Fury, could appear seemingly benign to some. Its initial focus on counter-terrorism, illegal opioid supply chains, transnational crime, and countering foreign disinformation campaigns appears noble to the blissfully unaware. But the methodology, scope, and utilization of these scores raised red flags. Experts rightly warned that characteristics such as, quote, "pro-terrorist," have no concrete definitions, and automating judgments based on vague criteria could have problematic consequences for U.S. citizens. Firstly, there is the issue of false positives. The inexact science behind assigning risk scores means that innocent individuals could be falsely identified as potential threats. In such cases, an individual's freedom could be curtailed based on algorithms that neither they nor the general public fully understand or can challenge. This has echoes of the McCarthy era in the 1950s, when during the Red Scare, individuals were often wrongly accused of disloyalty or labeled as communists based on tenuous evidence, which led to loss of employment, social ostracization, and in some cases, imprisonment. A second issue lies in potential socioeconomic biases. It's well documented that machine learning models can inadvertently incorporate biases present in the data they're trained on. This could result in disproportionately targeting certain racial, ethnic, political, or socioeconomic groups. Another concern is the violation of privacy rights. The Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures. However, the wide net that's cast by automated systems to analyze social media accounts for risk assessment could be interpreted as an unreasonable search. This is akin to the NSA's bulk collection of telephone and internet records exposed by Edward Snowden in 2013, which the courts later found to be illegal. The unfettered analysis of social media could inadvertently collect data on innocent individuals, leading to an Orwellian surveillance state, where the fear of being watched leads to self-censorship and a stifling of free expression. The risk score system proposed by Project Night Fury shares a mild resemblance to China's social credit system, both of which involve assigning numerical values to individuals based on their behavior. The social credit score, which was introduced by the Chinese government in 2014, assigns scores to citizens based on a range of behaviors, from traffic violations to online shopping habits. These scores, in turn, can have significant impacts on people's lives, affecting everything from their ability to travel to their children's school admissions. The revelations about Night Fury come in the wake of other revelations. such as those of Customs and Border Protection utilizing an AI-powered tool called BabelX for analyzing travelers' social media. These revelations received little media attention and mostly went under the radar, but are important since not only was the tool found to be used on refugees and immigrants, it was also found to be used on U.S. citizens. A possible violation of the First Amendment should a judge ever get the chance to weigh in. BabelX, crafted by Babel Street, is an astute sleuth that peers into an array of data with just a snippet of information such as name, email, or phone number. Once fed, it disgorges a plethora of details including social media posts, linked IP addresses, employment history, and even unique advertising identifiers associated with mobile phones. The capabilities of BabelX are not constrained by linguistic barriers, as it adeptly sifts through data in over 200 languages. It delves into the public web, as well as the more cryptic realms of the dark and deep webs. Babel Street's website hints at the tool's AI-imbued nature, further accentuating its proficiency. In an intriguing turn, the CBP document mentions that some commercially accessible records compiled by private entities contain Social Security numbers. BabelX's acumen extends to, quote, sentiment analysis, which can potentially gauge the tone and emotion behind text, an asset for intelligence agencies. Since 9/11 and the rise of the Patriot Act, boarding a flight has been used as an excuse for invasive surveillance, not just the loss of privacy of your physical person, but also in terms of digital and online scanning. Taking a flight, even a domestic flight, is seen as an excuse to undermine the Fourth Amendment, all in the name of security. And as the murky apparatus of monitoring people and spying on them grows, so does what can only be described as a form of security paranoia. Carrying cash already puts travelers on the list of likely suspects, but now even those who book last-minute flights or take short trips are on it. Recently unsealed documents are cited as adding more evidence to previous reports that the practice of government agencies using travel records for surveillance is active and carried out in cooperation with both airports and companies called Global Distribution Providers, or GDS. What an order dating back to 2015 shows is that these companies are law enforcement's valuable sources of data. This information comes from a court now unsealing the orders as a result of legal action launched by Forbes and the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press last summer. In December, it allowed them to gain access to some of the documents. A GDS is supposed to provide convenience to travelers as a database of a wide variety of travel-related information that can then be used by air carriers, hotels, companies organizing cruises, etc., for a more streamlined and improved booking experience. But it seems that the convenience these databases provide to agencies like the DEA and the FBI engaged in contemporaneous real-time surveillance of individuals might be even greater. The 2015 warrant mentioned in the report is based on a 1789 law, the All Writs Act, and a court signed off on it, allowing the FBI to enlist Sabre, a GDS with access to at least a third of global travel bookings. The goal was to locate and track a person whose identity has not been revealed in the unsealed papers. But the FBI said it was a known fugitive and got Sabre to turn over records of their travel activity over a period of 2 years. The legal justification for the order allowing this to happen. The All Writs Act is so old that this 230-plus-year-old law was signed by George Washington. But U.S. authorities have not been shy to stretch its interpretation to modern-age technology such as encryption, notably when Apple in 2016 fought back the order to unlock a San Bernardino shooting suspect's iPhone. Chilling is how Executive Director Albert Fox-Khan of the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project described the fact that the courts are using this act to give three-letter agencies access to data such as that stored by Sabre, since according to him, the All Writs Act, quote, requires very little showing of probable cause from the government. Fox-Khan also recalled that airport surveillance has seen unchecked growth over the years, justified as a way to provide better security to passengers. However, once the methods and the technology are in place, they become, quote, a powerful tool to target nearly anyone they choose to examine. But the agencies don't always need formal court approval to access passenger records. A DEA warrant to confiscate cash at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, filed in January, reveals. And while the seizure did require a warrant, picking which travelers exhibit behavior considered as potentially suspicious did not. and this included last-minute bookings and short return flights. The DEA interprets such innocent activity as indicating involvement in drug trafficking. In order to find out who's traveling in what way, the agency just accessed records in the possession of the airport, in this case, that in Minneapolis, which wouldn't offer any comment beyond saying the case was, quote, an ongoing investigation. As for the rationale, it looks like guesswork. The DEA says traffickers often don't know when their suppliers will be available much in advance. Hence, last-minute bookings have become suspicious behavior. While anyone traveling someplace and returning within 2 days, the agents say often does this to get the ball rolling quickly and avoid, quote, the risks associated with holding large amounts of illegal drugs. Guesswork or not, this and similar practices have turned U.S. borders into privacy voids, where your movements and personal data can be monitored with little oversight, and your electronic devices can be seized without a warrant, as there's the now old question of if it's even worth risking such deterioration of civil and democratic standards, or if law enforcement could do its work without pushing the limits in this way. In Minneapolis, Forbes reported, court records show that, quote, there was no additional evidence to indicate the cash-carrying individual was selling drugs, and at the time of publication he had not been charged. In other words, the dystopian technology